Today's electric cars didn't just suddenly appear. They're the result of more than 200 years of evolution. From boiling steam engines to roaring gasoline machines, and now the silent hum of electric motors. Every step was part of a long chain of innovation, failure, and reinvention. This is the story of how we got from steam to electricity. Here's something most people don't know. In the late 1800s, electric cars were actually more popular than gasoline. New York City even had an entire fleet of electric taxis in 1897. So the real question isn't how did electric cars suddenly take over today? It's why did they disappear for more than a century, and what brought them back? To understand where we're headed, we have to go back to where it all began. The evolution of the car is really the story of human innovation. Every generation solving the limitations of the last. We'll move through 4 key eras: the steam age, the gasoline revolution, the rise and fall of electric, and finally, the modern comeback. Each phase didn't just change cars, it changed how we live, work, and move. Our story begins in 1769, when a French inventor named Nicolas Joseph Cugnot built a 3-wheeled, steam-powered vehicle. It looked more like a boiling kettle on wheels than a car. Slow, heavy, and constantly on the verge of explosion. But for the first time in history, a machine could move itself without horses. Steam power dominated the Industrial Revolution, fueling trains, ships, and factories. So naturally, engineers tried to bring it to the roads. Steam cars were powerful, but also wildly impractical. You had to light a fire, wait for pressure to build, refill water constantly, and hope it didn't overheat. Imagine starting your car 30 minutes before work just to heat it up. That was life with a steam car. Then, in 1885, a German engineer named Karl Benz built something different. The first gasoline-powered automobile. It used an internal combustion engine. Tiny, explosive bursts of fuel creating rotational power. It was compact, reliable, and most importantly, ready to go instantly. For the first time, driving didn't mean lighting a fire or waiting for steam. You just poured fuel, turned a crank, and drove. Early gasoline cars were still noisy and shaky. Many people actually prefer horses, but the promise was clear, this could scale. And once Henry Ford introduced the Model T in 1908, cars became affordable to millions. The Model T changed everything. Mass production dropped prices, made repairs easier, and gasoline stations began popping up everywhere. By 1920, steam cars were history, replaced by the growl of combustion engines. But in the middle of this transition, another kind of car quietly tried to compete and almost won. By the late 1890s, electric cars were already on the roads, and surprisingly, people loved them. They were quiet, clean, and easy to operate. No gears, no fumes, no hand cranks, just flip a switch and glide away. For the wealthy, they were luxury items. For city drivers, they were practical. In fact, by 1900, nearly a third of all cars in the U.S. were electric. Even early taxis in New York City were electric, a fleet built by the Electric Carriage and Wagon Company. So what went wrong? The problem wasn't the idea, it was the battery. Early lead-acid batteries could barely go 100 kilometers per charge, and recharging was slow. Gasoline, on the other hand, was fast to refill, cheap to produce, and thanks to Ford's assembly lines, cars using it were half the price. Electric cars weren't defeated by a better idea. They were defeated by practicality. By the 1920s, gasoline cars ruled the world. And for nearly 70 years, that's how it stayed. It wasn't until the late 20th century that electric power started making a comeback. Rising oil prices, pollution, and climate change forced the world to rethink its dependence on gasoline. In 1997, Toyota launched the Prius, the world's first mass-produced hybrid car. It didn't replace gasoline. It blended it with electricity, proving that electric energy could enhance efficiency instead of replacing engines entirely. The Prius wasn't just a car. It was a message. The electric dream wasn't dead. Then, in 2008, a small California startup reignited that dream completely. Tesla introduced the Roadster, an electric car that could go over 300 kilometers per charge. It was fast, sleek, and for the first time ever desirable. By the 2010s, lithium-ion batteries, software integration, and fast-charging networks pushed EVs back into the mainstream conversation. The technology that failed in 1900 had finally matured. If there's one pattern across this entire story, it's this: the winning technology is never the strongest. It's the most convenient. Steam was powerful but slow. Gasoline was efficient but dirty. Early electric cars were clean but limited. And now, for the first time, electric solves every major friction of the past. Batteries have evolved beyond imagination. Energy density has tripled in the last 2 decades. Charging stations are multiplying every year. And as manufacturing costs drop, the balance of power is shifting again. The car isn't just changing how we move, it's changing how we think about movement itself. Autonomous driving, shared mobility, and renewable energy all tie back to one thing: the silent electric motor that started it all. Right now, we're standing at the edge of the 4th transportation revolution. In the early 1900s, cities went from horse-drawn carriages to gasoline cars in less than a decade. People didn't even realize they were witnessing history until it was too late. The same thing is happening today. Gasoline isn't being replaced emotionally. It's being out-evolved logically. Governments worldwide are setting deadlines to end combustion sales. Car companies that once swore by gasoline are pouring billions into EV research. And every new battery breakthrough pushes us closer to a fully electric future. This isn't the future coming soon. This is the future right now. So no, electric cars weren't born in Silicon Valley. They were reborn after more than 2 centuries of trial, error, and persistence. Every failed invention, from Cugnot's boiling steam tricycle to the 1900s electric taxis, laid the foundation for today's revolution. Because that's what progress really is. Not sudden change, but constant refinement. We started with steam. We mastered gasoline. And now, we're returning to electricity, but this time with the power to make it last. The car didn't just evolve. It taught us how to evolve.